Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to show you how to layer our Postage Autumn layering stencils. There are 8 stencils in this collection. Each stencil has some etchings and some instructions on them. These stencils coordinate with our Postage Party die. I know a lot of other companies have similar die cuts. Our Postage stencils only coordinate with our Postage Party die. So let's get started. I placed our pre-cut Postage Party die cut onto our sticky mat, and then we're going to use our patent pending corner layering guides. These are some corner pieces that will stick onto the sticky mat. You're going to align them with the first stencil that you use for your layering stencil. So put down your cardstock first, then your first stencil. I'm starting with stencil number 8, which will fill in the background of our Postage Autumn stencils. And then you place down the 2 corner pieces on 2 opposite diagonal corners. For stencil 8, I use Grand Fuchsia. And then I removed stencil 8, replaced it with stencil number 1. And most of stencil number 1 will be blended with our Peach Blossom ink, but these 2 areas here will be selectively blended with 2 other colors. So I'm going to start off with Found Topaz in this little area, and you can see there is a small etched circle in that area. And then for the pie section, I'm going to use Light Oat. Then I'm going to take stencil 1 off, and then I'll replace it with stencil number 2. Now all the colors that I'm using are on the screen, and these are only color suggestions. You can of course use whatever colors you have in your stash, whatever layering colors. So for stencil number 2, I'm going to go ahead and use our coralline hybrid ink and our mid-size brush for most of the stencil. We're going to color in the second layer of the first set of pumpkins with the coralline, and then we have soft ash, and I'll use this for the shading of the plate and the whipped cream of the pie section. Then we're going to take stencil 2 off and replace it with stencil 3. And I'm going to use a lighter pink for stencil 3. So we'll use our bubblegum dye ink and our wide flat stencil brush. Then for the pie section on the lower right hand portion of the postage die cut, we're going to use Spice Chai for the filling of our pumpkin pie. And then on the upper left portion of this stencil, they look like leaves, so I did add evergreen for this section here, but you can go ahead and just use the pink ink that we use for the pumpkins and the leaves. You don't have to use the green. I also went in with some Spice Chai in this section for the acorn. So once stencil 3 was done, I took that stencil off, replaced it with stencil 4. And then there's a couple of areas here where you have to do some selective ink blending. So I just went ahead and used gray for the shading of the plate, some coralline for the pie, and then some brown ink for the acorn on the upper right hand portion. Then I'm going to use Hollywood Star for the rest of stencil 4, and this is just going to add a little bit of details and shading to the rest of the pumpkins and the leaves on this stencil. Once 4 is done, I took that stencil off, and then I replaced it with stencil number 5. We're going to blend the entire stencil number 5 with some green ink. We'll use our evergreen ink and our mid-size blending brush, and we're just going to go ahead and blend the entire stencil. The reason why I switch off between larger and smaller size brushes is that you can get a little bit darker if you use smaller size brushes. So that's why sometimes I switch off between the 2 brush sizes. Once stencil 5 is done, we're going to put stencil 6 down, which is the first layer of the wagon in the upper left portion of our die cut. And I'm using warm hazelnut for the first layer of the wagon and our mini brush. And then I took off stencil 6, replaced it with stencil 7, which is the second layer of the wagon. And I used Found Topaz for the darker layer for the wagon. So here you can see all the blending is complete, but I do want to turn this into a completed card. So I put this completed die cut into my MISTI, and then we'll use our Postage Fall Sentiment set. It's a 3x4-inch set. It's a great stamp set because you have the sentiments that read from left to right, but also up and down as well. So we're going to stamp the happy sentiment inside the wagon, and then the Thanksgiving sentiment, which reads from top to bottom. It's in a vertical format. We're going to stamp that right inside the center panel. We're going to add some additional postal elements from our Not a Bill 4x6" set, and we're going to stamp them using our Caviar hybrid ink. I'm going to stamp the entire panel with a different number of stamps. And then we're going to use the largest die from our stripe border nested dies. And it's just going to add this really subtle but very finished looking striped edge border onto some pink A2 cardstock. We're going to adhere our Postage party die cut onto that background, and my card is complete. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. All the products will be listed in the description box below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.